It's a great pleasure to open up today's discussions on a very tough topic. One is it's about evaluation, but the other is it's about sustainable development, which by itself is a complex and difficult topic. In this brief moments, I thought I will focus on some examples where it has worked or where it has made a difference. But please keep in mind, these are boutique examples. They are not mainstream, widespread examples that change the world as they stand. Because we know that the environmental challenges are about to derail even straight economic growth. Climate change, of course, is one particular feature. It really is with the finance ministers, the planning ministers, the policy makers, the budget deciders, the practitioners, who have criteria which are very much understood and rational, but they just fall short of taking account of perhaps one of the most critical things that matter today. So we need to put that front and center, regardless of various ways in which we think about it. And the positive side of it is that income poverty is definitely related to economic growth. And that is almost a tautology, because poverty is defined by income, growth is defined by income. If A goes up, the other goes down, unless income distribution changes. So when people say, well, poverty and income are related, it's not a discovery, it's just almost a tautology. So let's accept that as an important point. And so raising economic growth is the single first objective of policymakers. And if that is the case, and I don't have any issue with that, then the question is, what do you think about social inclusion and environmental protection? One way to think earlier on had been that these two are good to do, are good to have, but there is a trade-off that is very hard to take. Simply put, bad programs of income inequality reduction, they hurt income growth. This is an approach many MDBs, including ADB where I work, has followed, and to a large extent, I think it's actually very good in the sense that we are putting some emphasis on the three pieces of inclusive growth. But if you believe that growth itself depends on inclusion, then you want the first pillar, not any growth, but growth that is more inclusive also. And that means how can we generate growth that perhaps disproportionately includes, not benefits, not handouts, but includes the lower income strata in the growth process. So that's inclusive growth that is helpful for sustainability. And then, if you believe in that, then investments of various kinds in the social and natural capital play a big role. Making growth more sustainable and evaluating that starts with valuing and investing in the natural capital side, which really gets short shrift. So one example of that is the lower panel. If you look at the last 30 or 40 years, you will see that natural disasters have been on the rise. And this is a global picture. You see this even more striking for Asia. And you'll see that geophysical phenomena, terrible as they are in terms of human life lost, the lower ones, the brown, the earthquakes and the volcanoes, they have been fairly steady. But you will see that the hydrometeorological ones, floods, storms, droughts, and heat waves, especially important in Africa, those have been on the rise. And so what is the problem? Why is action? Perhaps the biggest disconnect today between knowledge and action concerns the phenomenon of natural capital, environmental destruction, biodiversity loss, not to speak of that, and then climate change. And so why the disconnect has to be taken on, right? So there are trade-offs, and there are policy issues that bring that out very clearly. All of those are related. We have that picture clear, right? That's the picture. Within that, can we think that there may be some sets of actions where you have really win-win outcomes? So why not just go to town with those? What would be an example of a win-win? Meaning, okay, trade-offs are all there, but look, I can tell you here's a list of things on which if you took action, it's good for the economy, it's good for society, it's good for the environment, is good for everybody. What would be some examples of that? If you took away fossil fuel subsidies, that would be socially as well as environmentally profitable, but somebody will lose. So there will be strong special interests that would fight against that. But you could argue that that still presents a net win. And then you could say there are real trade-offs, and you need the political economy really to work for you to get that action done. That's one framework to think about it. And so if that's the case, here we have 5 strands to stress. Impact evaluation and benefit cost analysis are the 2 that I kind of put as the umbrella. A lot of the examples we can use to make the point. But at the end of the day, I'm just of the view that it really doesn't matter that you put it in some rigorous framework, whether it's impact evaluation, you call it rigorous impact evaluation or benefit cost analysis, and you say it's highly quantified. More important is to have that framework and list the things that you feel really matter. One strand of stress for me would be take benefit cost analysis more seriously and really incorporate and don't hide under the premise that, oh, we cannot quantify, so we don't know. That's almost dangerous because we can quantify costs of some of these things. So if you only put the cost of taking action, meaning if you did more on let's say, fuel subsidies, there are some costs. If you counted that, but if you didn't count the benefits because it's harder to count, you will give misleading policy conclusions. So you need to always, always, always have benefits and costs in the same page, in the same table. Don't put it in 2 different tables because you take one or the other. Similarly, not just the benefits. If you are excited about a project and you only count the benefits, but what if it really displaces people big time? That's not a great idea either. So you've got to put the costs through. Switching to the positive side of the story, what can be done? This is an incredible example. The cyclone in Bangladesh, look at the 1970, 255 kilometers per hour, killed 300,000 people. The same intensity, roughly speaking, 97 and 07, right? Same intensity. And you cannot say density of population was different. It had higher. It is higher. So I'm giving you a table that is comparable. So if you didn't have the benefit cost framework, was the expenditures, investments on that justified? You get the wrong answer. But if you have the benefit side, in this case, deaths avoided, it's a no-brainer, right? I think in many of these cases, we are experimenting, so it makes sense to pilot. But then, so there are some funds available for that. But if I may generalize, I don't know if you agree, pilots have not been followed by evaluations that then ask you to scale up or not scale up. That's really what the pilot is for. And if you don't evaluate them, what is the use of having a pilot? So yes, there are some good facilities, some good windows, but it's not being used well. And then, big challenge, especially in the case of pilots, especially for sustainable development, especially for these complex issues that, you know, we have differences of sentiments. How do we treat innovation and risk-taking? Because they come in even more so than in many other cases, right? Because you have difficult issues, so you innovate, try to solve the problem. Do evaluators motivate innovation, or do we discourage innovation? The examples I gave, the repeater projects, build the 70 kilometers over and over and over again. I've looked at some of them. My colleagues have looked at some of them. They do very well by evaluation ratings. So if you want to be a bit risk-averse in terms of not getting a bad rating, you would just repeat the tried and true, even if the development effectiveness would have been so much more, even with some failures. Failure is okay. If you had done those innovative ones that take on board some of the points that we discussed. So evaluation must not favor risk aversion. We might even go further and say motivate risk and innovation, and then replication and scaling up of pilots. And so very important, whatever wherever we come out specifically on methods and so on, process of capacity development, not building, capacity development is a two-way process. Learning events like this one, exchange of views like this one, views from the beneficiaries. How many times do we build an evaluation based on what the beneficiaries think, and with lots of field visit? And then the evaluation development support, like the one from ShipDebt, colleagues are here, from CLEAR, 3IE, ideas, the hosts here, the NEC, UNEG, ECG itself, which the multilaterals and bilaterals are in one way or the other participants. Now, all of that would be tremendously helpful. With that, I just want to thank you all, and there's some list of publications that we can access through the internet, and the book from Andrew, if anyone is interested. And I thank you very much for your attention, and most importantly, best wishes in the precious work you're doing. Thank you.